Since 1943, every U.S. president has flown aboard aircraft designated Air Force One, but none have been as technologically formidable as what you're about to witness. This isn't merely an upgrade. It's a complete reinvention of presidential mobility. At $5.3 billion, the new VC-25B represents the pinnacle of aviation engineering, national security, and political symbolism. Imagine a flying fortress equipped with systems so advanced they're classified, interiors so meticulously designed they rival the White House itself, and security protocols so stringent, even the air you breathe is monitored. Today, we're granted unprecedented access to this airborne command center, where every square inch tells a story of power, preparation, and the relentless pursuit of perfection. From its missile-evading countermeasures to its nuclear-hardened communications, this machine is built to ensure continuity of government when the unimaginable occurs. But beyond the bulletproof windows and encrypted war rooms lies a human story of the elite crew who operate this marvel, the presidents who relied on its predecessors, and the engineers who pushed aerospace boundaries to create it. Over the next 15 minutes, we'll peel back the layers of secrecy surrounding the most recognizable aircraft in history. Strap in. This is a definitive tour of the new Air Force One.
Inside the new Air Force One, a $5.3 billion flying fortress.
To understand why this aircraft is revolutionary, we must first recognize its lineage. The iconic Boeing 707 that carried JFK during the Cuban Missile Crisis had a top speed of 600 miles per hour and could fly 4,000 miles without refueling. Cutting edge for its time. But when you compare its analog systems to today's VC-25B, the differences aren't just incremental, they're evolutionary. The new Air Force One isn't merely a transport vehicle. It's a network command hub with capabilities that would seem like science fiction to the Cold War era designers who created its predecessor. Start with the airframe itself. While it retains a familiar Boeing 747 silhouette, every structural component has been reinforced with composite armor plating capable of withstanding RPG attacks. The fuel tanks, self-sealing and surrounded by inert gas systems to prevent explosions. The windows, multi-layered polycarbonate able to stop .50 caliber rounds. But the true marvel lies in what you can't see, like the electromagnetic pulse EMP, shielding that protects its electronics from nuclear blasts, or the Faraday cage construction that blocks all unauthorized signals. This isn't just an airplane. It's a survivable ecosystem designed to function when the world is falling apart. That philosophy explains why the VC-25B carries enough fuel to stay aloft for nearly a week with mid-air refueling, why it has 3 separate galleys to feed 100+ people indefinitely, and why its medical suite includes a full operating theater. In the next chapter, we'll step aboard to see how these systems translate into the president's day-to-day reality, starting with the most secure doorway in the world. Before the president or anyone board this aircraft, they must pass through what security experts call the most scrutinized threshold outside the Oval Office. At first glance, these stairs appear ordinary, but embedded within them are biometric scanners, chemical sniffers, and millimeter wave detectors that analyze every person ascending in real time. The system is so sensitive, it can identify trace explosives at 1 part per billion, equivalent to detecting a single grain of salt in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Even with proper clearance, no one steps aboard without verification from at least 3 separate systems. Facial recognition cross-checks against the Pentagon's database, RFID chips and ID cards authenticate against encrypted satellites, and behavioral AI monitors for suspicious micro-expressions. Former crew members described the process as like going through TSA while being watched by a lie detector test. And this is just the end of the aircraft's unclassified areas. Once inside, passengers pass through a second, invisible defense. Airlock-style clean zones where particulate filters scrub everything from anthrax spores to radioactive dust. The air pressure inside the cabin is maintained higher than outside to prevent contaminant ingress. A lesson learned after the 9/11 attacks revealed vulnerabilities to airborne toxins. All this happens before the president even reaches his private suite, which we'll explore next, a space where global crises are managed with the same gravity as in the West Wing. This is where history unfolds at 600 miles per hour. The president's private suite aboard Air Force One isn't just a place to rest. It's a strategic nerve center designed to mirror the functionality of the West Wing, even when cruising 7 miles above the Earth. Every element, from the angle of the desk to the thickness of the walls, has been engineered for two non-negotiable priorities: absolute security and uninterrupted command. At first glance, the suite resembles a high-end corporate jet interior, polished wood, plush seating, and subdued lighting. But look closer. The wood paneling, ballistic-grade composite material with embedded sensors that detect tampering. The decorative scenes along the walls, concealed emergency oxygen lines that deploy in milliseconds if cabin pressure drops. Even the seemingly ordinary headboard behind the president's bed contains a shielded communications panel, allowing direct access to the National Military Command Center during a crisis. At first glance, the suite resembles a high-end corporate jet interior, polished wood, plush seating, and subdued lighting. But look closer. The wood paneling, ballistic-grade composite material with embedded sensors that detect tampering. The decorative scenes along the walls, concealed emergency oxygen lines that deploy in milliseconds if cabin pressure drops. Even the seemingly ordinary headboard behind the president's bed contains a shielded communications panel, allowing direct access to the National Military Command Center during a crisis. Perhaps most startling is the medical suite hidden behind a sliding panel. Outfitted with a defibrillator, blood reserves match the president's type, and even a telemedicine link to Walter Reed's top surgeons. It's a fully functional trauma center. This isn't paranoia, it's preparation. When Reagan was shot in 1981, the lack of airborne medical capabilities nearly proved fatal. Today, a team of onboard physicians can perform emergency surgery mid-flight, buying critical time until reaching a secure facility. And then there's a secret few acknowledge, that unmarked hatch above the bed. Officially, it's an equipment access point. Unofficially, it's rumored to connect to an evacuation route, one that's never been photographed and never will be, because some secrets, even on camera, must remain in the shadows. This is where the unthinkable becomes actionable. The war room aboard Air Force One isn't just a meeting space. It's the most secure decision-making environment ever built, designed to function as the epicenter of global power during existential threats. From nuclear exchanges to cyber attacks, what happens here doesn't just shape history, it can end it. Start with the walls. 6 inches of reinforced titanium, lined with copper mesh to block all electronic surveillance. The air is filtered through a classified system that neutralizes biological and chemical agents. Even the table's geometry is tactical. Its hexagonal shape ensures no one sits more than 3 feet from a secure terminal, and the angled surfaces deflect potential laser eavesdropping attempts from outside the aircraft. This room's predecessors witnessed moments of chilling gravity. In 1973, Nixon's team debated nuclear alerts here during the Yom Kippur War. On September 11th, Bush's staff tracked hijacked planes from these very monitors. Today, the systems are exponentially more advanced. Each workstation has dual-layer encryption, one for routine communications, another for shadow network, traffic, so covert. Its existence is technically a secret. At the center of it all, the football, this 45-pound briefcase contains the authentication tools to launch America's strategic arsenal. Its contents are known only to the president and a handful of officials. But we do know this. The system aboard Air Force One adds an extra safeguard. Before any order is transmitted, the president must validate their identity via a biometric pulse monitor that reads heartbeat patterns impossible to spoof. Even the unassuming smoke detector above the table is a lie. It's actually a neural voice analyzer that measures stress levels in speakers' voices, flagging potential coercion during crisis talks. And if the room is breached, every screen has a physical shutter that slams down in 0.3 seconds, while white noise generators deafen listening devices. This is where the line between aircraft and warship blurs, where a single conversation can alter the fate of billions, and where, despite every doomsday scenario we've engineered against, the human element remains the most unpredictable factor of all.